What's up, everybody? I've got my phone right here, and in this video I'll be showcasing the new Smartlead application, which you can now download on both iOS and Android. And at the end of this video I'll be showing you a really cool automation that I've built to help me leverage this phone application to its maximum potential. And so to get started, this is what it looks like. It's essentially a master inbox with all of the core components. So we've got the inbox, unread replies, archived. All of the core pieces that are inside the computer are also here. We're able to filter by the specific lead categories. In my case, I've chosen these lead categories. I've also chosen a filter by a campaign, but you can choose a client, you can choose a tag, you can choose whatever you want. Again, very similar to what it's like on the computer, which I really love. Next thing you're able to do is you're able to add some notification preferences. And so this is what the push notification feature is going to be like, right? So as you can see, I received a new reply from Kat. This is a part of the email activities, email replies push notification. And so whenever I receive a brand new email reply, I'm able to click on it, which is going to redirect me into the actual inbox over here for that specific lead. And then I can respond to them with whatever I like. Now, this is where the really cool automations come into play. When I click on that specific lead, we're going to be able to reply to their email manually, or we can actually push them to another campaign, or we can push them to a subsequence. Now, here's where we start to run into some challenges. The challenges are going to be not every single campaign has a subsequence, and that's what I'm going to be showing you how to automate. Let's dive in. Awesome. So we're at the computer now, and as you can see, when I click on one of my campaigns over here, I have a subsequence. And this is super important because when we go into the master inbox, find the same contact and push them to a subsequence, we have somewhere to send them to. Now, here's the challenge that I run into very often. It's that I forget to add a subsequence to my campaigns. And there's a few ways to actually add subsequences, right? The first way is to obviously go in any individual campaign and then add a subsequence. There's going to be options that you can set up for that particular subsequence. The next option to create a subsequence is by duplicating a campaign. And so you can duplicate a campaign, and in duplicating the campaign, you can also duplicate the campaign subsequence. But sometimes you have a brand new campaign that you've created from scratch, like this, and you just forget to add the subsequence. And this is going to be a problem, because if you're using your phone as the inbox manager, you might be at the grocery store, you might be at the gym, you might be on a date, you might be anywhere, right? And if you try to reply to a lead, but you forgot to add your subsequence, then there's not much you can do, right? And so you're probably going to have to create a task, come back to it on the computer, deal with it on the computer. So it's just a lot easier to ensure that you always have subsequences in every single campaign. And let me show you how we can go ahead and automate that. So the first thing we're going to do is create a webhook. And so I'll just do this as a test webhook. We will input the URL over here, and we will leave it as a user because the trigger for this is always going to be at a user basis, not, although it could be client. I'll show you how it's done. We'll get there when we get there. The event type that you'll be choosing is the one called campaign status changed. And so when the campaign status changes, we're going to be sending a webhook over to signify that the campaign is active, right? And so let's go ahead and create a brand new scenario. We're going to add a webhook in this scenario. And so I have one right here. Hello. And we will copy this URL, right? And so when we copy the URL, we simply need to paste it in the webhook URL. And then I will send a test webhook over here to see whether it works. So send a test webhook. and it works. So it gave us information about that specific campaign. And so we basically just want to know, like, this campaign is moving from drafted over into active. That's what's going to allow us to know which campaigns we need to check for subsequences, right? And so once that happens, we're going to do a few things. We're going to add this HTTP module to look for every single campaign that exists within our Smartlead account. And so we go here, all campaigns. So list all campaigns, and then we get this URL endpoint over here. And so with this URL endpoint, this is going to list out every single campaign that we have, and we can then parse out whether this campaign has any subsequences or anything like that, right? And this is not required for you. This is just something that I use to keep my records, like to make my API keys easily accessible. But you don't need to do this. So Smartlead API keys, and then I'm going to switch my API key with that one over here. So API key, grab that, and then we add that here. And so at this point, we're going to be getting all of the campaigns that we've got. Oh, actually, it needs to basically run. I will do that in a second, right? So we're going to need to iterate through the data, and then now let's run it. So run it. Let's send a test webhook. So what that just did, it looked through every single campaign, returned an array, and now we're looking at each of those arrays one by one. So we've got all of the campaigns that we have in one thing over here. The next thing we're going to do is actually like a set variable, which is just going to be a test, right? So this is just a test to show you what we're working towards. And the filter that we're going to be setting for this is that the parent campaign ID needs to be equal to the campaign ID over here. And so if the parent campaign ID equals the same campaign ID, that's how we're going to know that this campaign has a subsequence. And on a different note, I'm realizing it might actually make sense to have this here, because if a campaign has multiple, subsequences, we don't want it to run multiple times. So we're going to actually do a numeric aggregator, which is going to take multiple subsequences and turn them into one thing. And so this is going to be looking through the iterator, and the aggregate function is going to be a count, looking for the, we're just going to put one. It doesn't matter. And so boom. Now we're able to run this over here, which is the same webhook, which was a test webhook. And over here, we'll find out that the result is 0, meaning that this particular campaign does not have any subsequences, right? Because it looks through all of the campaigns looking for the parent ID, which is the same as the initial one over here. And if it turns out this one does not have any subsequences, right? And so let us get this live. Let's make this webhook live so that I can show you what it looks like in action. So this is now live. We've got it as a user. We'll create a brand new campaign. And so we're also going to just call it this, and then we're going to save that. So now this campaign is live. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to duplicate this campaign. And this particular reason we're duplicating it is just for testing purposes, right? So it's going to be GFH copy. And we're not really going to do anything special with this, right? So now we've got two campaigns over here. Both of these campaigns, by the way, both of these don't have any subsequences, right? None of these have subsequences. And so in one of these campaigns, we're going to add a subsequence, and then in another one, we're not, right? And I'll show you the difference, which is going to be huge, right? So over here, I'm going to choose HubSpot. I will import from this over here, and then I will save next. So we've got one lead over here. So skip and then save next. So the lead is added, and now we can add a subsequence. And so this one, as you can see, this one does not work. We're not able to add a subsequence. And so we'll create a subsequence. It's just going to be like a random subsequence. It doesn't matter. And by the way, I've got automations that can allow you to automate all of these processes, like all of the steps and all of that stuff. Right now, it's just about like making sure like we just have the administrative basic things set up, which is the notifications that subsequences are not live. You can automate this, but even with the automations, you're still going to want to have this in place, right? So now we've got two automations that are live. This one also needs to have a contact, so I will add the contact, and then we will move it to being live as well. Awesome. So I've added the lead to both campaigns, and now we're going to be moving these two different campaigns into the active status to show you how big of a difference this is going to make, right? So this is the first one. This actually, let's move this one first. This is the first one. We're going to be moving this over into the active status, and we're also going to be running this particular section over here. So this automation, start campaign, it's going to trigger the automation, look through all of the campaigns, find that particular campaign, and once it's found the campaign with the specific ID, oh, actually, it hasn't found it, right? So it's going to say count is 0, signifying there is no subsequence over here, which means we should actually send a notification to ourselves, right? And then for this one, let's go ahead and run it. We will go ahead, run once, GFL copy, start campaign. It's going to trigger the automation. And then as you can see, it returned a value to us, which is saying that the result is 1. So this is working perfectly, right? And so now what we want to do is we want to send a Slack notification, right? So a Slack notification is going to look something like this. So create a message. We're going to put it in this testing channel over here. And we're going to simply say campaign move to active status, missing subsequence. We're also going to want to hyperlink this, right? So this is how you hyperlink within Slack. This is called markdown format. We're going to have the app URL so that we can easily go into the specific one. And then inside here, we're going to have the filter, which says result equal to 0. Right? So if it moves over into active status and it is 0, we're going to basically notify ourselves. And so we do that again. Actually, we also want to add other filters like it's moved from drafted to active, that type of stuff, right? And so I've just moved the status to the paused section. Now I'm going to move it over back into active. So when we click resume, it's going to trigger the webhook and then send us a Slack message with the specific filter that we had set up, letting us know that the campaign has moved to active status and we are missing the subsequence. And so at this point, we can actually click on this URL over here, which is going to take us into the actual campaign over here, where we can start to add the subsequence accordingly. But again, if we never had this automation that informs us of the missing subsequence, we would never remember to add that until we're at the grocery store, we're at the gym, we're on a date, and then we're like, oh shoot, I forgot to add the subsequence. But this automation right here will always keep you informed whenever you're forgetting to add subsequences in a very coherent manner. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Cheers!